we need to focus on us. How about that? Let's focus on us and our children. Let's go ahead and bring our sister up, Miss Morningstar. Hey, Nikki, I see you, honey.
Hey,
How
Hey,
hey,
are
good
you?
morning, good morning.
Good
look at that
morning.
shirt. Look at
I
that
love
shirt.
your
I love
shirt.
Yes,
it.
Is that your
Yeah,
books?
that's the
this
book.
is this is both of the books. This is a crossover shirt with both of them in there. So
Okay.
yeah, I have a store now.
Mm,
Okay, you have a
good.
store. Good. Good. Is
Yes,
it
Yes,
through
yes.
Etsy or what is it through?
it's on Printify. So
Oh,
it's
good.
Okay, good.
yeah, Compassion Creations on Printify.
Okay.
Perfect. You know, you got to drop
Nice.
that on over in our plug so we can go ahead and support sis. All right. All right. So today is autism acceptance and awareness. And I'm glad that we're speaking on this. There's so many people who actually need to hear this message. So I am going to be quiet and turn the floor over to you.
So this month, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff because there's a lot of things going on this month. So autism is just one of them. Because it's Autism Awareness Month, it's Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. It's a lot of stuff happening. So today we're just going to talk about autism. I do think that this is something that people don't understand. I remember at one point hearing our very intelligent speaker, the president, saying, there's a lot of people being diagnosed with autism now. Maybe if we just stop screening for it, testing for it, then the numbers will go down. And then you got
Let's
his.
not bring up anything that somebody
He
should have
said
tested him.
something about COVID. Remember,
Yeah, he said the same
C-19.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I guess that's his
his
go-to. Just don't
yeah, his
test for it
go-to
and
is
you'll
if
be all
we just
right.
stop testing and stop talking about it, then it won't be real.
So if it's
Um,
COVID and autism, next it can be cancer and HIV, anything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
let's just
anything.
not,
If you just
just don't
stop
test.
testing,
Just don't
stop
test.
making people aware about it,
Don't
and
worry
let's
about it.
just be done with it. It's over now.
Sweep it
So
up the rug. Sweep it under.
right.
Uh,
And his homie, who's over all of our health, has told everybody that it has to do with vaccinations. And this has been something that's been dispelled years and years and years and years ago, that vaccinations don't have anything to do with it. So the reason that it's more prevalent now is because we are talking about it, we are testing for it, we understand it better. And so it doesn't have anything to do with the vaccinations, and it doesn't have anything to do with, let's just not say anything else about it. It's not real.
You're right. You're absolutely correct. And why not do a deep dive and make sure that you're giving the best care to your children possible? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's not forget acetaminophen. You know, he couldn't say that word.
Right. Right.
Acetaminophen,
Right. And he was like,
aka
see,
Tylenol.
right. He
Ace-
said, oh.
yeah,
What's this?
acetaminophen.
What's this word?
What's this word?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not
So
forget.
yes. So you can it a lot you get a lot most people get diagnosed nowadays in childhood, but you can be diagnosed later on in life if it was something that, if you're older. There's a lot of adults now being diagnosed because we didn't know as much years ago. So it might have got missed. But now we're like, oh, that's what this is, right? So one thing to know is that it's kind of more it's a spectrum of how it presents. So with someone who is autistic, it's a neurodevelopment difference. It's something with your neurology, it's your makeup. It's not something that is just like if you think about like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, some of that stuff has to do with the chemicals. This is the makeup of your brain.
Yeah.
And so it impacts communication and social interaction. It includes sensory, like touch, stuff like that. Your senses, your five senses, you take that in consideration. So it might have some processing differences with the way that things are done with your senses and how you experience your senses, which is why sometimes you'll see people with headphones on because when things are too loud, then that's too much. So it affects your senses.
Oh.
And it's a wide spectrum of strengths and support needs. So that's one thing I want to put out there. It's a spectrum. It's not like one size fits all. Everybody who is diagnosed with it does not present the same way.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I've noticed. You will see one child who is who is autistic, and they may be able to still manage, but then you'll see
Mm-hmm.
another child who has heightened is it census? Yes,
Sensory,
heightened
yeah, yep.
sensory. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's not across the board. You can't just label it, oh, they're autistic. You actually have to do a deep dive so you can know how to be there for your child,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Exactly.
So
Because
So
what,
it,
they all require different therapeutic methods, right? I
yes.
mean, you have some children that I've seen I've seen a documentary, a woman who keeps a documentary of her autistic child, and he's a violent with his autism,
mm-hmm.
and they have different methods and therapeutic ways to calm him, to try to deal with that. That's tough,
Yeah.
Right.
it's a lot of different things.
And that's the whole thing about it. It's kind of like you have to, if you have an autistic child, like they're going to present different depending on, because it's about how they interact with the world around them. It's about how they communicate, because some children with autism, because of how the spectrum is, are nonverbal, which means they can't talk. So
Right.
some children can't talk, or maybe they're limited speech. You know what I mean? So think about if I'm trying to tell you something and you can't get it, how that might affect you as far as like how you're feeling. If I'm trying to convey something I need and you can't understand it and I can't say it, that's frustration. That's going to be some anger. That's going to be some lashing out because I'm trying to tell you, but you're not listening.
Yeah.
Or I'm overwhelmed and my sensories are overloaded. So I'm lashing out because I don't know what else to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like you said, most people are diagnosed as children. And
Mm-hmm.
if you notice that your child is nonverbal, or you're not understanding, you see a difference in your child, and your child isn't comprehending and moving in the right way. The first step would be what? Going to your pediatrician and having them start doing the testing.
Yes. So the thing about it too is with a lot of times it shows up, we'll notice a lot of this stuff in school age, as they're getting closer to starting school, because we're still developing. And
Mm,
sometimes you have to decide if it's the child's environment, because maybe I have an adult who has maybe limited education or parents different, and so maybe I'm not hitting some of those milestones. So it's really as they're starting to get closer to go to school when some of this stuff is going to pop out.
yeah.
You can tell earlier, but usually it's around right when you're about to go to school. And a lot of times, you and your pediatrician, the pediatricians have this chart. And I don't know if you all ever seen this. It's like a developmental chart, and
Mhm.
it says, at this age, and they're starting to give it out. Like people who get WIC or get different assistants, or like just in different places. If you go to the clinic, they have like little pamphlets, and they'll say, "Hey, when your child's this age, these are some of the things they should be doing." And some of that is to give you an idea about where they should be at in their development. So they should be, trying to pick stuff up. They should be crawling. They should be doing this. So if they're not hitting those different milestones, that's your cue to go talk to your pediatrician and say, "Hey, I noticed she's not crawling. I noticed she's not making noises. I noticed this is not happening. And should I be concerned?" And sometimes children do what they want to, and they might do it later. I just don't feel like doing it right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My
Absolutely.
child, she didn't
What
crawl.
type of because I'm kind of ignorant to the
Yeah.
testing part. I don't know, what type of testing do pediatricians actually do? Is it a set of different skill level tests to determine if they are suffering from autism? Is it something more intrusive? I mean, what sort of testing do they do?
So it's some of the stuff is giving them information. You're collecting information, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're looking at like some of the characteristics that you might see would be communication differences, the way they interact with children or they don't. There's certain ages when you should start playing with other children, or at least wanting to be around other children. And when you're separating yourself and kind of off to the side, that can be an indicator. Sensory activities, right? So the music, touching stuff like touching tactile stuff, grabbing stuff, doing different things. So there's different things they're going to try to have, skills, like you said, that they're going to have the child do, along with also getting some information from the parent. Looking for repetitive behaviors, like they just continue to do the same type of behaviors, different things like that. So it's different things that you're looking for, and trying to see if they're on track with their development.
Yeah, that's good information. I know P is in the chat. She said her son was diagnosed at the age of 5, and
Mm-hmm.
she's saying that I assume that there are several different ways that pediatricians are using to identify where your child is at. And the development chart, we've had that since for forever on how
Mm-hmm.
the child is developing. And I think that that is that's one of the key factors. And then from there, um, how do you, in my opinion, I, I've always wondered, how do parents go from, okay, I have this diagnosis for my child. Now what? What do I do now? How do I make
Right.
sure that I give my child what he or she needs so that they can be functioning adults?
One of the awesome things is that now, with the more that we know about it, all the research that has happened and the conversations that we're having, now that we know about it more, there's so many programs out here for parents, right? So I tell people, if you're starting to notice something before the child gets in school, take them to the pediatrician, start doing this questionnaire, get them diagnosed, and then the world opens up to you. There's all these different programs that they have, and they'll teach you as the parent how to adapt and change things and understand your child,
Yeah.
because it's different, right? So it depends on where your child is affected. If it's a sensory thing, then the thing that you as a parent have to do is learn what, overloads their their senses, what, sends them into kind of that rage. Can they communicate? Can they not communicate? And you have to create that safe space for them at home. If you can get them diagnosed before they go to school, you can set up an IEP form at school where they have certain people around them. They have certain things that they can work with them on and do. Maybe they only have them in a classroom with everybody for a certain amount of time, but they have somebody, then maybe they have somebody with them. So it just depends on what their needs are. And then you as the parent are trying to adapt your household and change your household for those needs. But it's something that has to be learned. It doesn't happen overnight. It comes with you watching and understanding and being patient, and you having a community where you can reach out, where you're taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
on top of all that.
I was definitely gonna say that, like, building a community, working with other parents, and maybe being part of some sort of program where you can get information and see how other children or parents are dealing with maybe some of the similarities.
Yeah.
I always think community is good because
It is.
it outshines any medical treatment and all. To me, once you put a kid in the community with people that's like them, and they kind of start, developing, and
Yes.
things change. Has there ever been any and you might not know this question, like any studies that they outgrow the autism, or they
So
or
No, it's
they
not.
not outgrow it, but maybe they learn as adults how to deal with with their
how to
disability,
manage it.
right? How to manage, because I've seen plenty. I have a nephew. I mean, plenty that go out and be adults and live a
Yeah.
regular life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it depends on where you're at on the spectrum. But it's not, there's not a cure. So it's not like we can just give you some medicine and
Right.
so that's what I'm saying when I say it's not like depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, stuff like that, where you can take medication that'll help those chemicals in your brain to even out. It's something that you have to adapt to. You have to understand. You have to accept and appreciate. You know what I mean? And you have to change the environment. So you're learning to use clear and direct communication. You're offering some choices. You're respecting, if they need a little space or a little time, or they need to go away from everybody for a minute. You're creating predictable routines. You're validating feelings. You're avoiding forcing eye contact. Right? People who are autistic are super smart.
Yes.
They are
Yeah,
extremely smart.
Extremely
yeah.
intelligent.
Yes.
And
And
creative,
so,
and very, like, some of them
Very
are
creative.
very creative, artistic.
Mm-hmm.
I call it beautiful minds because
Yeah.
some of
Yes.
the things that they produce is amazing.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely. Go ahead, Nikki.
go ahead. I was gonna say just the way that they experience the world is different. The way they see things is a little different. But I think that's another myth. People think they don't understand because if I can't talk, people think I don't understand. I understand exactly what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just not communicating with me in the way I need you to.
Exactly. And a lot of people have to understand that it's not forcing. So I want to take it back to like in the 70s, 80s, 90s, because autism has always been around. It's
Mm-hmm.
just we did not know what it was. And then, you know, some people in their minds, well, I have to change my child so my child will be just like everybody else, not realizing that every last one of us on this planet, we're all different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every last one of us. So why change your child to conform when you just really need to understand how to understand your child? That's
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's most important. Understanding how to raise your child versus, you can't just, down the cross the board, everybody has to do it this way. That's not real life to me. I know our TikTok chat is going in, and I love it
Yeah. I love
because we
it.
are going to answer some of your questions as soon as we come back off of our break. I see that Pete, thank you so much for being here and contributing. I truly appreciate you, Coach Nikki, Ulysses. We are going to get back to you guys' comments. Let's do this first. Let's take our break, and then Coach Nikki, if that's okay with you, or Counselor Nikki, if that's okay with you, can we answer some of these questions that are on Facebook? Let's address some, or Facebook, on TikTok. Let's address some of those because people are speaking with us over there.
Yes.
So take
Yes.
this break really quick. You are listening to Our Plugs, the Community Connection on WKRA 92.7 The Change. We will be right back after this quick commercial break.
Advertising with Our Plugs. The Community Connection opens doors to a whole new ballgame. Radio advertising is affordable, powerful, and puts your business directly in front of the people who want to support you. Plus, customers can easily find and connect with you anytime through our online directory. If you're ready to grow your brand, expand your reach, and stay connected to the community, sign up today. Visit ourplugs.com and register now. That's ourplugs.com. Plug into your community.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mara Keller, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and candidate for Congress in Georgia's 3rd District. Now, I'm running because too many decisions in Washington are being made without listening to the people that they affect, whether it's public safety, veterans care, education, or protecting our constitutional rights. These aren't partisan issues. If you believe our government should work for everyday Americans and not special interests, I invite you to stand with us. Your donations help keep this grassroots campaign people-powered. Every donation fuels our voter outreach, ads, and our shared fight for a better Georgia. Visit marakeller.com to donate today. Let's finally serve the people who send us to Washington. And a huge thanks to DJ Kitty Cat 50 for the energy and the spotlight. Let's keep pushing.
Advertising with Our Plugs.
Carter's Caring Hands is here to serve the communities here in Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Battle Creek, as well as Southfield, Michigan. We also go out into the unhoused community, serve the community with care bags. Low-income families, our senior citizens, and our veterans with fresh food baskets each and every day because no one should choose medication over food. We are here to serve you. Your community is our community, and our community is one community. From our hands to your hand.
Hello, everybody. My name is Monica Meeks. I'm a wife, a mom, and a soldier for life. And I'm running for the 19th Judicial District Circuit Court Clerk for Montgomery and Robertson County in Tennessee. I am so grateful for Our Plug LLC for giving me an opportunity to share my platform and explain why I'm running for office. Early voting is July 17th through August 1st, with the final day of voting on August 6, 2026. I'm an independent candidate, and I appreciate your support.
You're locked in to WKRA 92.7, the voice of the community. And listen, 2026 is all about showing up and shining. That is why we rock with Morningstar Boutique by Tam, where fashion meets confidence, purpose, and style. From everyday chic to head-turning statement pieces to some fly arm candy, Morningstar has it all. And while you're shopping, tap into the community. Discover Black-owned and minority-owned businesses at ourplugs.com. Also, check out morningstarboutiquebytam.com, where your light owns your style.
And we are back. You are listening to Our Plugs, the community connection on WKRA 92.7 The Change. Today we have our sister, Nikki, Counselor Nikki. She's here with How's Your Mental. We're speaking on autism, acceptance, and awareness. And we're going to take it over to the chat really quick. So while we were on our commercial break, P had shared that she had put her son in a, what is it called? A residential program, placement in a residential program. And I asked, what is that? And she said he had to get medication changed and couldn't do it in the community. So he was placed in that home. So let me ask you, Nikki. So I guess I don't want to speak out of turn and I don't want to step on anybody's feelings because it is a sensitive topic. But when you are raising your child and you're going through the motions of, the IEPs in school and you're going back and forth and your child gets to a level, do all kids take medication for autism? Or is
No,
it
and
just, go ahead.
no, all children don't, and sometimes and the medication is for behavior.
Okay.
So it's not for it's not like I said, like depression and you take, SSRIs. It's for the behavior. So
And
if you're not, huh?
And so the medication helps them change their behavior? Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
So like if you have a child who has a lot of anger and a lot of aggression and it's not controlled well, there may be medication that can help with that. So it's kind of like if you think of someone who has a personality disorder, and personality disorders are not chemicals either. That's your personality. So we are treating the behaviors because they're not able to change with just therapy or just changing the environment and stuff like that. So that's the same thing. So sometimes there are children who may have, because they're experiencing, remember we're talking about the sensory part of things, and they're experiencing stuff heavier and more, it's kind of like if you see a bright light, that's how their feelings are. That's how their emotions are. It's stronger than what we feel. So sometimes they're not able to control that. So the medication is for behaviors, not for like changing your chemistry in your brain.
Okay. So maybe to calm them down.
Right. So all people who have autism don't take medication.
Yeah.
And P's comment said that they manifest other diagnoses like ADHD and mood disorders because of the autism. So that can be what she was saying, I guess, the balance of the medication. Might help balance those other things that
like ADHD.
Right. That help put them at a balance.
That makes a lot of sense.
If there's something else that comes out of it, like she said, another diagnosis. But
right.
Most of the time it's behaviors or other things that are happening. It's not the autism.
I get it. So when you separate that autism from those other behaviors like ADHD or those other symptoms, ADHD or bipolar
diagnosis
or anything else, it's completely separate. So you're not actually treating the autism, you're treating that ADHD or you're treating that bipolar disorder. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
The ADHD or the symptoms if they're strong, not the actual autism.
Okay. So truly I'm trying to understand. So if that's the case, there isn't really a treatment for autism. It's more of like therapy. And well, I won't say there isn't a treatment. I would say that there is no medication that you take. There's therapy or
and understanding and changing the environment and putting in things that are going to help that particular child, because it's not the same amongst everybody.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I
So
was
it's kind of
go ahead,
go
Nikki.
ahead. It's kind of insulating. It's kind of insulating them and putting your arms around them and putting the services they need specifically to help treat whatever they're showing, whatever's coming, their symptoms are for, or whatever, however their autism presents itself.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Morningstar.
Hold on. What I was gonna say was I have been following, y'all know Tisha Campbell, right? Gina from Martin. Her son, her and Dwayne Martin, her ex-husband, their son, Xavier, I think his name is Xavier, or I can't remember his name.
Xavier.
They've he has autism. And I kind of pulled up a little article because I love the way she manages his, and he's an adult now, and she does TikTok lives, and they're funny, and it's like comedy with him, right? And he's not he's verbal, but he's very like serious, but not so serious. But he doesn't have her but she's, we know Gina, Tisha Campbell, hilarious. So
yeah, she is.
I love how she is able to transform her acting skills to help balance his autism with empathy, or she'll do a skit like, for all you ladies out here who think you gonna get with my son, let me tell and he be in the background like, really? And I just love to see it, and I think she just found a way to support him in, during his early, maybe it was an early intervention move. I don't know, but it's therapeutic because even in his adult, she's training him to be independent. I think he is independent. He might live with her, but he's still very independent. So I just love to watch it. I follow them.
I love that, because I think that every child, every person, whether you're autistic or not, people have to just learn how to deal with you, and you have to learn how to manage this crazy world. And you don't, in my opinion, hell, we all got a little something. Hell, I'm sorry. Heck, we all have a little something. If you want to know the truth, and you're right, P. It's a day by day journey. Every single day is something, and I find myself learning from the people that are autistic in my life. I learn from them. If you pay attention, they have you slow down. Well, the ones that I know, they have me slow down and really look at things a little bit differently. Because we're always on the rush, and the young people or the little people that I know who are autistic, they actually have me sit back and take it easy, not so quick. I don't take me slow. I don't need you to take me fast, which me myself, I love that. I do. Go ahead.
And so the whole thing too is, I think if people can take something away from it's about understanding and paying attention, right? And removing the barriers, and creating a space where they shine. And it's like, it is a daily thing, but it's also, like you said, with Tisha and her son, she's been doing this a while. And so she's gotten to this thing where she knows what he needs and when he needs it, And so it's about being this cheerleader that understands, and we're creating our world together. You're not different. You're not out here by yourself. We're creating this world, and you're going to shine. We're going to do things the way you need to do it. And you're going to be confident. You're just like everybody else. You just like to think about things differently.
Right. And I think that's what she really focused on. I'm just reading a little bit more of y'all. I can share with y'all. Like, she said some of the key aspects of their journey to get him to this point, because he even's enrolled in college. So he's doing really well. She said early diagnosis of in education, of course. She said he was diagnosed at 18 months. And she became a real vocal advocate to educate herself and her family about being on the spectrum, and then communicating and coping. She said she taught him to vocalize his needs and use specific phrases, and to navigate through social situations, misunderstandings, helping him express his emotions and conditions. So that itself, that's given me a lot of information. Like, she learned his way of communicating. and was
That's
able to
right.
communicate in that way to him to help him be able to cope and deal with how other people, how he would, communicate with other people. Emotional development. She used her, what I said, she used her acting skills that she had already to help process emotions and empathy for him, to help him see that. And she said a support system. We talked about that, the community. She says she gives credit to the small villages, the community, the networks, friends, family, professionals for providing emotional and practical support. I think that is huge.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
Because
Yeah.
you
too.
really need a village. And they always say it takes a village to raise kids. And that's even the kid that's not autistic. It does. It takes a community. It's not just you and another parent. It really takes a community. That's teachers, that's doctors, that's
Mhm.
grandparents, that's aunts, uncles, friends, family. It takes
Exactly.
a village to really raise a productive child. So I love that. And she said, overcoming hurdles, she has been open about the grief and the fear of
Mhm.
parents' experience, but highlights celebrating small victories and fostering his independence, such as his work at the zoo and attending college. So,
That's good. Yeah. I love to see that because I think that a lot of children, the autism community got a bad rap when we, for whatever reason, our first initial response is fear and, oh, there's something bad. And it's not like that. It's not that it's something bad, it's just something different.
yeah.
Yes.
Not everyone's gonna put on their right shoe and then their left shoe. Maybe they'll put on their right shoe and then walk around for a little while and I find myself doing that quite often. Or sometimes you put on mismatched shoes. Not everybody has to do everything the same.
The same way.
Imagine if we all were the same, how boring life would be.
Right. That's
We
true.
need a variety. Think about it. I love the fact that we are all different in our own unique genetic makeup. That's what makes the
Yes.
world beautiful. And I need people to really, socks too, right? I need people to really understand that we don't all have to be exactly the same. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead, Nikki.
I think too, like, think about what we were saying right now, right? This is something that we do with kids. We should be doing with children anyway. We should be helping them develop who they are and allowing them to express themselves. Sometimes my child want to wear mismatched socks or mismatched Crocs. Okay, I'm not. I'm gonna choose my battles. That's what you got. Have it. Do what you do
I
what you
just
want to
look and
do.
say, okay, come
You
on.
know
Have a day.
that. Yeah. So we do this. We should be doing this anyway. And the thing that is sad is one of the things I had to learn when I was started out in social work, getting my bachelor's, we had to do policy, and we had to learn policy from the beginning all the way to where we were at that time, and why things were the way they were. And policy with mental health started out as lock everybody up. If anybody's different, if anybody's not doing what we think they should be doing, lock them up and keep them in there, and
Yeah.
they're messing with their brains and doing all this stuff on them. And so they weren't trying to understand. And then it swung
Yeah.
all the way to the other end, like let everybody out.
Yeah.
And we're letting them out, but we don't really know what we're supposed to do after that.
Yeah.
So again, it didn't have anything to do with understanding. So now, and even with autism, it didn't start as a spectrum. It was like you're either this or you're either that. There was no spectrum to it. And then evolved into, you know what, there's more to it than this. And
Yeah.
that's why people went undiagnosed, or it went underdiagnosed, because it's like you have to fit into these two categories to be diagnosed with it. If you don't, then that's not what's going on with you. You just need to go get yourself together.
Wow.
And then they realize, like, wait, no, this is different for each person. It's individualized. There's a whole spectrum of how this can present itself. So we just have to really work. And that's what I think awareness is about, and is understanding and learning and trying to include versus pushing away, locking it up, and we're not going to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that we've come this far. 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was an issue. We saw a lot of parents saying, hey, You know, we need
Mm-hmm.
some sort of understanding for our children. They aren't bad children. They aren't children who need to be locked away. They just need to
Mm-hmm.
be understood. And their way of learning, like we said earlier, they are very intelligent. Maybe they're more so intelligent that we haven't caught up with them,
Right.
you
And I
know?
and I think for the parents, they also need that
Yeah,
support because
they
a
do.
lot of the times I've seen some parents blame themselves, like,
Mm-hmm.
why is my child this way? And I think it's a state of mind. I think you have to get into the
Yes.
state of mind that, like you said, my child is different because this is who they are. They're unique.
Yeah.
We can't always assume our kids are going to be just like we are. I have always like, well, I don't do things that way. Well, your child is not you. They're
Yeah.
different.
Right.
They're their own unique individual. Yes, they share some of your characteristics because of who you are, and you are, they're surrounded by you. Of course, you pick up traits of your parents, you pick up their traits, but who they are individually is who they are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who go through this probably need the therapeutic treatment themselves just so they can mentally understand, no, it's nothing wrong with your kid. It's just who they are. And you just have to
Yeah.
adapt and adjust to tweak it to try to fit their needs.
I
Right.
know there are a lot of support groups out there. My cousins are they have so many things going on with the autism awareness groups. There's a Facebook group, there's local groups that you can actually find and go and share in this experience. And I want parents to understand that you're not alone. There's
Mhm.
always more people out here who are I won't say dealing with, because it's not dealing with, who are managing, or they are blessed to have a child who's just a little bit different. And I won't even say different. I would say more, in some cases, more advanced. You
Mhm.
know, there are a lot of kids. You ever seen those kids who can solve a puzzle immediately? Or UB or Ulysses, she said that her son's been coding with her since he was 11 years old. Coding is actually building, it's what makes your computers run, and the codes that create apps. That is in my mind, that is a genius mind, because you're seeing it differently. You're not just seeing words across, you can actually read it and
Mhm.
understand how to develop it. That right
For
there
mine.
is, yeah, it's a beautiful mind. I love it. I love it. And I'm glad to see that there are so many people who are not just accepting, but wanting to encourage people and let them know that, hey, we're all in this together. We are,
Yeah.
no one's immune. Go ahead.
And you are 100% correct. There are a lot of groups out there. Autism Speaks is one of the biggest ones that you hear about a lot of times. And it's a real big directory of autism friendly community groups. They got peer groups, recreation programs, parent support groups, and different online communities. So that's a huge one if you look that one up. There's
Mhm.
an Association for Autism and Neurodiversity. It's AANE. They have support groups for autistic teens and adults, and some are free and open, and some are fee-based and closed. And they also have a parent group too, and they have some gender-specific groups. It's called the Association for Autism and Neurodiversity. Um, there's a global and regional autism spectrum partnership, GRASP, and they have online support groups for adults and neurodiversity affirming spaces on there too. So it's a lot of stuff. But if
That is
you go on
wonderful.
Autism Speaks, you'll find a lot of stuff on there.
Mhm.
That is wonderful. That is really good to hear, because we need the resources. Can you tell us the difference between autism and neurodivergent?
So both have to do with the way that your brain, the way that you process stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so neurodiversity, a lot of times people say that's more like concentration issues and stuff like that. That's closer to like ADHD kind of symptoms. But there was this probably about 10 years ago or so, I started seeing a lot of stuff come up about neurodiversity. When I lived in Georgia, there was this place that they would do this assessment on you. And if they felt like that's what was going on, they would figure out what side of your brain was like reacting the most. And then they would do different things and have you do repetitive things to train the other side to be just as strong. So there's these,
Oh.
it was like cutting edge stuff. And I'm like, I hadn't heard of that, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And it was really interesting because they were using, it's not therapy. It's like brain training, retraining the way that your brain is working.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh, you're having these, and they were doing it with children. My friend's son, he was going through it. He was having some issues, and they're like, it's not ADHD, it's neurodiversity, and here's how we're going to work on it.
What's a sign?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Yeah, what's the sign?
It was like concentration, or not, like you can't, like you're kind of going from one thing to the other. Like you can't stay focused on certain things.
Oh, you're
he had some behavior stuff. Yeah, he had some behavior stuff going on. The way that he look at things or say things or react to things is different than what they're expecting you to do or whatever. So he had some other stuff going on. And then when they did the testing, they did neuropsych testing. They did testing for mental health diagnosis because they want to rule everything out before they focus in on one thing. They tested for ADHD and autism. And then they did, I don't know what special test they did, but she was telling me he was over there for weeks doing testing on and off because they can only do so much at a time. They don't do it all at one time.
Yeah.
So you're doing little pieces here and there, and then he'd have little stuff he has to do at home. And it was really interesting. And he would have little things after they figured out what it was. It was something about the left side of his brain and the way it was working. And they wanted the right side to be developed more to kind of offset that. And they gave him different things to do. And you started seeing little changes. And I'm like, that is crazy.
That is.
It was really something.
So let me ask you one more, and then I know we're about to wrap, but I do have one more question. Asperger's, that's a form of autism, correct?
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
So that's when I was talking about how they were saying like you have autism or it was not a spectrum. You had autism or you had Asperger's. Asperger's was the part of autism that they say that had to do with your socialization. Right. So like if you didn't like to be around other kids, sometimes it had to do with if you could speak or not, but it had more to do with your socialization. Okay. And so that's what they were trying to say. Either if you can't be around, it's hard for you to be around other kids, or you want to kind of withdraw, or you have behavior issues, or you act out, or you have these things because there's other people around, or you're not playing with them, you're kind of separating yourself. And so it was more of that, and you're nonverbal. Then autism was the rest of everything else. And then they're like, okay, people don't fit into these two categories. And then it became a spectrum. When the DSM-TR came out, it became a spectrum. And they took Asperger's out.
Okay. All right.
So,
all right. This is very informative. It really is. I mean, for someone who is just, for people who are just now learning and doing a deep dive, or they may have young people, or even if you've been dealing with this for years, it's always good to get a refresher and learn what is going on. I'm so glad you did this topic because I think it's really, really important for all of us to understand we're all different. We really and truly are. What would you suggest? I know that we said, go to the doctors and everything, but what would you suggest for people when they're dealing with it and they have a child who is just now going into public school and maybe they're in pre-K kindergarten, what would you suggest? Sitting with the teacher, getting on that IEP? Give us some tips on that. For new parents.
Yeah, so if you're a new parent, you're starting to see these things, you've gone to the doctor, they said this is what you got going on. Usually I would say if you can early enough in there, early on, get with the school to see what they offer, what programs they have going on, what your child needs, and explain who your child is to them. Get with the teacher. Hey, can I meet with you? This is what my child has going on. Get something put in place so that your child is comfortable, when they're going to school, that they have some of those things. They're not going to ever be able to give your child what you gave them, but they can create the environment that they need. Maybe, they can only have 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes in the classroom, and then they have to be taken out for a little bit, So make sure you're advocating for your child and saying, these are the things that work. These are the things I've noticed. These are the barriers that my child has that I would like to have help with at school. Maybe your child can't take the bus, but you can't take them to school. Is there a van? Can we put that in there? Is there a van that can pick my child up at the door and drop my child back off because my child can't be on the bus with the other kids? Right. My child is having issues with speaking. Is there speech that we can put in there? So advocate for what your child needs to be successful.
This is why we need the IEP. And this is the fight that we're up against with the department, with the government in the Department of Education, as they try to have cut money in that big nasty bill and this is one of the programs, the IEP, that could be cut because the funding comes from the federal government for that. And these kids need that. This is therapeutic. This is a discipline. This is not, we just doing, giving you money. We just doing stuff.
No, these children need
this. That these kids absolutely need for their development and well-being. And the way that this Lord, just help us get this man out of office, because the way they brush this off, and like I saw Queen's comment, the Tylenol situation and all this weird stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about, is going to be detrimental to our kids. So y'all make sure y'all vote. We got to change this narrative.
Yeah, we do. We have to, because our kids they're the ones that'll be most affected. We've lived our lives. Our kids are going to be most affected by how this government is stripping away all their protections, all the things that can help them throughout their lives. So, this is a subject that we will continue to talk about and we will revisit, because it's needed, and it's needed in every single community. There's no one is immune. No one. I don't care who you are. Nikki, thank you. As always, you come in and you give us the wisdom that we need. We truly appreciate you. Our family out on TikTok and YouTube and all, and Facebook, Instagram, we appreciate you guys listening and joining in this conversation. Nikki, thank you. Any last words for our family, our listening audience out there?
Yes, this is not a reflection of you. If something is going on with your child, or, maybe your adult child that you're noticing, ask for help, tell people what you need, advocate for the child. Don't put this N word on yourself. It's not you. And your child will be okay.
Yeah.
Create, let's make sure we're trying to understand, and we're trying to include, and we're trying to break down barriers. Asking for help is okay.
Absolutely. It really and truly is. Great show, Nikki. Great advice, great communication. 100 across, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Miss Morningstar, can you go ahead and take us home, honey?
Absolutely, guys. Thank you, Nikki. What a great show. Was so informational and educational for myself. So thank you so much. I feel like I'm much more smarter. See, this is the kind of conversation we need, y'all, because all the other buffoonery make us a little slower every time we hear it. So Memphis, Tennessee, Holly Springs, Mississippi, we thank you as always for being such a great support and listening to the show. Come back though. We'll be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time as always on WKRA 92.7. The Change. We appreciate you as well. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of our social platforms, YouTube. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Until then, y'all have a great day. Be great, be safe. We love y'all. Thank you. As we wrap up today's show, we want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, tapping in, and staying connected to your community.
Remember, this platform exists to uplift Black-owned businesses, nonprofits, creatives, and community leaders who are doing the work that moves us forward.
Make sure you support today's guests. Share the show. Stay plugged into our